very exciting matchup for the USA against Panama. Now, listen, some people were disappointed in my take on Monday about USA and their somewhat unimpressive win over Bolivia. Okay? Now the matchup against Panama. Anybody who's a soccer fan, a casual, is going to say, oh, we're going to smoke Panama. They stink. Folks, this is a tricky game for the U.S. I will remind people, last summer in July at the Gold Cup in the semifinals, the U.S. lost to Panama in PKs. Now, to be fair, the U.S. did not have their full squad. They did not have the full-on Copa roster. Pulisic didn't play. So, you know, if you want, it was the B team that we lost to Panama. But historically, Panama's given us a little bit of problems. I know the record going back, 30 years or whatever is fine. I don't care about that. I'm just talking about recent history because there's been a bit of a shift in the U.S. soccer philosophy. We've gone from like scrappy, plucky, feisty, all those adjectives, underdog to, this team's kind of soft. We got all these guys playing in Europe and I don't know. You just don't see that physical nature that they used to have where they were like the underdog. And now they're kind of in the role of everybody knows like this team's kind of sort of legit. They can battle with the big boys. But what happens is sometimes they get caught playing down to the level of their opponents. And I'm a little worried about Panama. I called this a must-win earlier in the show. Well, Alexi Lalas will come on and tell you guys later. If they lose this game, Berhalter's head will be on the chopping block against Uruguay in the next matchup. If they don't get out of the group stage, it's over. Berhalter will not be coaching this team at the 26th World Cup. They will get rid of him, and they'll have a good 20 months with the new guy to figure out what they're going to do to get this team competitive on our home turf in 26 at the World Cup. This is a must-win game tonight for Berhalter, okay? Panama, they're a little tricky. It's not going to be easy. Now, on paper, yes, the U.S. should win. They're favored. I'm just saying, you got to be careful with some of these games. The game's indoor, which is great because of this damn heat wave that's gripping the country. So that shouldn't be an issue. But I do think the USA wins tonight. Am I a little nervous? I'm always nervous when these guys take the field. They never make it easy. And soccer's one of these, it's not like the NBA where there's 100 possessions and a billion different things that can happen. Soccer, I mean, the margins are slim, folks. We just saw Brazil get a tie in Copa America this week, and their fans are paranoid. They are freaking out because of a tie at Copa America. The U.S., a tie, it wouldn't be great tonight, but you cannot lose this game. That's the bottom line. The U.S. cannot lose to Panama. The game's on Fox. It's must watch. I can guarantee you it's my TV one. TV 2 will be the NBA draft, and TV 3, the one in the corner that it's grainy with the antenna, the bunny ears, that maybe will have on that debate thing with the two, septuagenarians, I don't know, the old guys yelling. Maybe that'll be on the far corner. But overall, soccer, top priority tonight. If you like soccer, if you like the USA, it's a must-watch game. All right, I'm going to quickly pivot here to wrap up the second hour with something that caught me at the draft last night. We didn't totally get into, the machinations of the draft and how all the teenagers went in the top 12, but something weird happened with the San Antonio Spurs. You guys know I am hugely pro Victor Wembanyama. The guy's a unicorn. He's super special. He's going to take over the league. He was almost won Defensive Player of the Year. He's close to being an all-NBA performer, okay? So the Spurs had 2 picks in the top 10. It's like, let's go. We can trade those picks for, I'm just tossing out names, Paul George, Karl Anthony Towns. We can cobble together 2 top 10 picks for something. Or we trade one of the picks and get a role player, something, in return. Or we just draft 2 young guys who are studs. So they get Castle out of UConn at 4. I love him. He's probably my favorite player in the draft, maybe my second favorite player. I love him. His game's going to be great. I think he's got humongous upside. I think his floor would be like a Derek White. That's his floor. I think his ceiling is much higher than that. I don't want to go overboard and get Spurs fans all excited about how good Castle's going to be. But then at 8, they did something weird and strange, and it caught me off guard. Like, usually you can see what's happening and pretty quickly understand what the team was attempting to accomplish. The Spurs, knowing Wembanyama wants to win now. He's made that clear through interviews. You don't usually see that with this young of a guy, but he's made it clear, I want to win now. I don't want to wait 5 years. I want to win now. So out of the blue, the San Antonio's draft Rob Dillingham, who is an awesome young talent out of Kentucky, and they trade him to Minnesota. What? Now listen to the haul. They didn't get a player they can use. Jaden McDaniels? No, didn't get him. Anthony Edwards? Funny. They got a 2030 draft pick and a 2031 draft pick. Basically, they got current guys who are in middle school will be drafted in 2030 and 2031. That's what you got for the 8th pick? If I'm Victor Wembanyama, I am irate. Unless they brought him in and said, here's the game plan. We're going to do this, and our next move will be this. Because otherwise, Wembanyama has to be sitting there. We got a guy that can help in Castle, and now you just traded the 8th pick for somebody who's coming in 6 or 7 years? What the hell are you doing? Greg Popovich is not going to be in this league in 6 or 7 years. What do we do? What's going on? I mean, look at these Wembanyama highlights. The guy's a freak. He's instantly going to put them in contention. They won 22 games, and short of getting a star here out of the blue, they're not going to win much more adding Stephon Castle. Folks, Wembanyama he's a little different. If you really watch his interviews, he wants to win now. This trade does nothing for that. Now, the positive folks, a couple smart people in our morning meeting. Well, Jay, they're stacking chips in future draft picks. So whenever the next disgruntled star makes it clear, I want out. Hey, come on down. We're the Spurs. We've got a war chest of draft picks. What would you like? Who can we bring in? Now, here's the weird thing. I don't know, and I'm workshopping this take, folks. These like mid-30s guys, KD, Harden, I don't know that they have the value they did 2 and 3 years ago. Like, what are you doing bringing in Paul George to help Wembanyama? Are you winning anything with that tandem? Like, yeah, you get an instant bump, but Paul George is hurt all the freaking time. I don't want him. I mean, don't tell me that this is all for DeJounte Murray from Atlanta. And I like Murray. We're gonna bring him back. No, they're not doing that. Now, if it's for Trae Young, it gets a little spicier, but I'm not as high on Trae Young as I used to be. It's weird. Two guys I used to really like that I'm lower on now, Kyler Murray and Trae Young. Both I've heard stuff. Some of it I've said on the show. Other stuff I just don't want to say. But you just hear stuff about the players off the court. And it's just like, I'm not that in on the guy anymore. So I don't know what the Spurs are doing, but I'll tell you who else is pretty pissed at this. Adam Silver in the NBA. Just like we've been championing, Caitlin Clark needs to get in the playoffs. The WNBA needs her in the playoffs. We need Wembanyama in the postseason. And it ain't going to be easy in the West. The West is stacked. I just told you the Suns, okay? The Suns might be a play-in team. They're not top 4. Spurs are going to need major help to get in the play-in, and I just don't know if it's possible. I hope the front office knows what they're doing and they're setting up another move, but I'd be pissed if I were Wembanyama based on last night's draft haul. Final hour coming up. New look Knicks. Can they battle the Celtics?